So this is the Sony IER-EX15C. It's Sony's first USB-C earphone and it's priced at around 2000 rupees. Now first thing is that Sony's absolutely terrible naming scheme continues. I mean, who's going to remember IER-EX15C? Seriously, Sony, do something about your naming. After having used this for listening to music, for watching movies, I've come to realize that I honestly can't really recommend this to most people. It just doesn't do justice to the price and there are so many better options out there. Now, not everything is bad about this. There are definitely a few things that could be something you might consider, but mainly I think Sony really missed the mark here and made something that is overpriced and something that under-delivers. Okay, that's a long enough intro. Let me explain. Alright, so this is the box it comes in, pretty bare bones honestly, and inside it you get some paperwork, this branded clip to keep your cable organized and tangle free, some different size silicone ear tips, and of course the headphones themselves, the Sony IER-EX15C. Now in terms of the specs, this is really short. So each of these earphones contain a single 5mm dynamic driver that's going to produce the three frequencies, the highs, the mids and the lows. But the USP of this particular model is that this is Sony's first USB-C earphone. So you can just straight plug it into the USB-C port of your phone and you're good to go. You don't need a separate DAC to power these as you would with most in-ear monitors that I do review on my channel. So a pretty clean and neat setup. Alright, let's talk about the build and the appearance. Now coming to its overall size, this is a really tiny earphone. Really small, and that's obvious because it just houses a single 5mm dynamic driver, and compared to the in-ear monitors that I own, or if you're an in-ear monitor user, you'd know that in-ear monitors can get chunky, but coming from in-ear monitors that loop around your ear, this was a refreshing change. It was very ergonomic, very comfortable, super light, you literally forget it's there in your ears, so pretty good overall. Now coming to the build quality, so this is unapologetically plastic. No metal anywhere, and that's still okay, I don't mind that, but what I hate about the build quality is this cable. I mean, look at how thin this cable is, and it really scares you because if you plan to buy something for 2000 rupees, you at least want to use it for a couple of years, right? And this is so flimsy and so thin that one accidental hard tug and you can tear it from the earphones. And that's good night and goodbye for these, because these are not replaceable cables, unlike in-ear monitors where you can replace the cables if you damage them. Okay, so now with that disappointment out of the way, let me give you a word of caution when you're wearing these if you get them. So because these are so tiny and it gives you such a nice seal in your ear canal, literally like a vacuum seal, it's really nice in that sense, but because of that vacuum that it makes with your ear canal, if you happen to pull these out directly out of your ear, that vacuum gives you a really hard pop in your ears, and if you pull hard enough, you can possibly rupture your eardrum. Okay, it's a painful pop that happens because of that vacuum. So be very careful. If these are plugged in, make sure to wiggle it out like this, or softly and slowly, or at an angle so that air passes and then you can take it out instead of, it being like this and just pulling it out like that. I mean, that's going to be really bad. So just something you should be aware of. Okay, now let's talk about the main criteria, which is the audio quality, which is the part which I found very controversial given its price point. Alright, now as you know, any sound that you hear is primarily made up of three major frequencies: the highs, the mids and the lows. The highs or the treble response where the really sharp sounding instruments are, the mids where the vocals are, and the low end or the bass response. Now let me give you an overall picture of how this sounds. The overall sound signature is flat, very mundane. It's not exciting, it's not immersive, it's flat. And even with the USB-C directly plugged into my Android phone, I found that the volume was not sufficient, at least to my ears. Strangely, when I plugged this into an iPhone, it sounded a bit louder and a bit more fuller. And that's because primarily iPhones have a better inbuilt DAC compared to Android phones. Now, let's get into the three frequencies: the highs, the mids and the lows. Now, starting off with the treble response, it is absolutely non-sibilant, which is great. So it's not going to be piercing to your ears even at maximum volume, quite smooth, but it is not lively. It lacks that sparkle which makes it more engaging, makes the tracks come alive, and it just sounds better. it lacks that clarity that gives it that edge, that treble extension, the detail retention, all of that was missing. And that was very disappointing. I've heard the same track on other less expensive in-ear monitors and they've sounded astronomically better compared to this. So the highs, flat, not exciting, no sparkle, non-sibilant, which is great, but again, far too flat for my taste. Next up, the mid frequencies, where the vocals are. Now, vocals again are very flat. They have just this touch of warmth to them, but they lack the lower mid support that make it sound more warm, add depth, and make it more immersive. So again, a very mundane and flat response. Not the worst. Vocals don't sound hollow, so that's a good thing. But again, the lack of volume, the lack of overall immersiveness, the dynamics, that makes it sound quite flat. So even if you're someone who's very vocal centric, who wants a pair for listening to songs precisely, you might be left wanting more. And instrument separation also was not great at all. You know, like stringed instruments don't have that flair, they're not that engaging, they don't have that clarity, the notes don't carry weight. So again, a very boring response. I didn't like it. And I know I'm being very harsh, but I'm being brutally honest here. And finally, the low end or the bass response. Bass response is like, you know, that kid who just goes to school because their parents force them to go to school and he or she absolutely doesn't want to be in class. That's kind of like the bass response here. It's just there because it has to be there. There is no thump, there is no meaty mid-bass slam, and forget about the sub-low rumble. It is a very weak bass response, and it's going to be so flat, so dull, it's not immersive at all. And if you're a bass head, absolutely stay away from these because these are by no means a bass head or a treble head or a vocal head, whatever you call it. It's just far too flat. Alright guys, just to summarize, the Sony IER-EX15C, God, I hate saying that name. This is a very disappointing product from Sony. To see them make something like this, where the only unique thing for them is that they've added USB-C, but they've missed out on the main thing, which is the sound quality. Why make something that sounds so flat? Next, the price. You've priced it close to 2,000 rupees. That is way overpriced. The maximum they could have asked for this is maybe 750 rupees, and that's it. It's just a missed opportunity for Sony to kind of give the IEM world a good competition and come out with something great. So guys, that was my review of the Sony IER-EX15C. There, I said it again really fast. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have any other questions regarding this, do drop your comments below. That's about it. If you're interested in this or any other in-ear monitor or audio accessories, I will place all the links in the description below for your convenience, and I would really appreciate if you use those links to make your purchase. As always, they will never cost you anything extra, but you guys will be helping me run this channel and I can produce more such high quality and helpful content just for you guys. So thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video, leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys very soon in the next one. Cheers.